The Constitution of India. Preamble. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this Constitution.
Happy morning, students. I hope you all are safe at home, doing good, and almost I think you will be ready with your videos, like the videos which you have kept for pending during your online exams, and you would have completed by now. Now today I'm just going to begin the class, or we are going to have the class with a small thought. Be positive. If you have a positive thinking, you will find opportunities rather than obstacles. Yes, we say thought for the day, right? We use this word thought for the day. What does it mean? Every day begins with a good morning, right? So the day begins with a very good morning. So if you have a positive, energetic morning, definitely your day will be good. If you have a positive thinking, whatever obstacles that comes in your life, you will never find it as an obstacle. Instead, you will try to find out success or an opportunity in every obstacle that you face. I would rather say, children, when you try something, when we try something, we may get the result or we may not get the result. But when we quit, what happens? We definitely know that we will not get the result. Am I right? So what I want to tell my children is, be positive, have a positive attitude, so that whatever negative things that comes can never let you down, or you will not go surrendered by the negative thoughts. Surround yourself with positive people. Keep thinking positive so that you become more and more energetic, and you love to do everything, and you will enjoy when you do things in your life, right? So with this, let us begin the class for today. Last class, we were learning about few properties in the periodic trends in the periodic table. So today's class, we are going to begin with ionic radius. What do you mean by an ion? We know what is an atom, like sodium, potassium, chlorine, bromine. These are all atoms. When an atom lose or gain electron, it becomes an ion. When it loses or when it gains an electron, it becomes an ion. So cations are those which lose electrons. So when an atom loses electron, it becomes a cation, which is positively charged. Anions are those which gain electrons. That is, gaining of electrons makes an atom called as an anion, which is a negatively charged ion. So here we are going to study about the effect of ionic radius in the periodic table. See, this is my sodium atom and the atomic number is 11. So I have my configuration as 2, 8 and 1. So what happens? Sodium nucleus, I have 2 electrons here in the first shell, and in the second shell I have 8 electrons, right? And in the third shell I have 1 electron. So this is my sodium atom. But sodium atom, when it loses an electron, it becomes a sodium ion, or I would say Na+, sodium cation. So when 1 electron is lost from sodium atom, the configuration becomes 2, 8. So I have 2 electrons in my first shell and I have 8 electrons in my second shell and I have no third shell. Why there is no third shell? Just because sodium atom, after losing one electron, it becomes a sodium ion. So the 3 shells have been now reduced to 2 shells. So what is an ionic radius? The distance between the nucleus and the outermost electron. So here I have my third shell, but here I have only 2 shells. So the cation will be having a lesser ionic radius compared to the parent atom. I repeat, when you compare the ionic radius of a parent atom and an ion, a cation will show a smaller ionic radius when compared to that of its parent atom. So this is in case of a cation. Now what happens in the case of anion? Let's take an example, chlorine. Chlorine has got atomic number 17. So how the electronic configuration goes? It is 2, 8, 7. In the first shell, it has 2 electrons. In the second shell, it has 8 electrons, and in the third, that is the outermost shell, it has 7 electrons. So this chlorine needs 1 electron to become octet, or I would say to become a noble gas configuration. So what happens now? Chlorine, after gaining 1 electron, becomes negatively charged, that is, it becomes a chloride ion. So the configuration now turned to be 2, 8, 8. So what happens here? The number of shells remains the same, but 1 more electron is getting added. Here, when you see in case of a cation, the number of protons are the same, but electrons is less in the cation. But here, number of protons are the same, but there is 1 more electron more in the chloride ion. So there is a decrease in the effective nuclear charge. 7 electrons were attracted by the nucleus, but when 1 more electron get added to the chlorine atom, what happens? The effective nuclear charge is again distributed. So there will be a decrease in the effective nuclear charge. So what happens? The shell expands. When the shell expands, there is an electron-electron repulsion also. So I will say Cl minus ionic radius is more than Cl atom. Here in this case I told Na is more than Na plus, but here Cl minus is more than Cl. Now I hope you understood, children. When there is an increase in the effective nuclear charge, actually the shell shrinks. The nucleus starts pulling the electron towards itself. But here in this case, as the number of electrons increases, the effective nuclear charge actually decreases. So when there is a decrease in the pull of the electrons by the nucleus, what happens? The shell starts to expand slowly. So when there is an expansion of the shell, the ionic radius gradually increases. So that is why we say the anion ionic radius is more than its parent atom. So this is with respect to cation and anion. Now we have one more term which is quite interesting, which we will be seeing in this. These are called as isoelectronic species. We know what do you mean by iso. Iso means similar, same. So isoelectronic species means those species which are having the same number of electrons. Let's take an example where we have O2 minus, F minus, Na plus and Mg2 plus. If you see what is the atomic number of oxygen, atomic number is 8, right? We write it as 2, 6. For oxygen it is 2, 6. So oxygen needs 2 more electrons to attain the stable configuration. So oxygen, after accepting 2 electrons, it becomes O2 minus. So the number of electrons now has become 10. Am I right? It has become from 8 to 10. Now what is in case of fluorine? Fluorine's atomic number is 9. So the configuration goes as 2, 7. It needs 1 more electron to become octet. So the number of electrons will become 10. that is fluorine, accepts one electron and becomes F minus, so it is 10. Now when you take sodium, atomic number is 11, so it is 281. To become a stable gas configuration, it loses one electron and becomes Na plus. So now it is again 28, which is 10 electrons. I hope you are able to follow, children. Now magnesium, atomic number is 12, which is 282. To become octet, it loses 2 electrons and becomes Mg2 plus. So the number of electrons is now 10. So in these 4 species, if you see, they are having the same number of electrons, that is 10 electrons in the shell. So that's why they are called as isoelectronic species. So out of these 4, which you think would be having the smallest radius, whether it is O2 minus or F minus or Na plus or Mg2 plus? It is Mg2 plus. Yes, you are right, because we know cations, the more the charge of the cation, the smaller will be its radius. So the charge of cation is more, smaller will be the radius. More is the charge of anion, greater will be the radius, because number of electrons is more, effective nuclear charge becomes less, and then it widely expands again. So this is with respect to isoelectronic species. It's a definite question, ionic radius and isoelectronic species. Now we will learn about ionization energy. The atomic size generally decreases across the period and increases down the group. This is because across the period, the electrons are added in the same principal energy shell and the shielding effect is less, so the effective nuclear charge is more. But the same thing does not happen down the group. The number of electrons and the shells increases and the shielding effect is more, and the same thing is with respect to ionic radius also. Now we shall see what is ionization enthalpy. We have been learning about ionization energy, right? That is, it is the amount of energy required to remove the loosely bounded electron from an isolated gaseous atom. So this is my atom. Assume X is any atom which will lose electron to become a cation. It becomes X plus. So this is my first ionization energy. That is, I put some energy to remove an electron from X atom so that the electron comes out and it becomes positively charged ion, that is cation. Now what happens? Now this is X plus. Now from X plus, I may have to put some more energy, that is energy more than my first ionization energy, to make it X2 plus, that is to remove the second electron from this isolated gaseous ion. Why? What is the reason behind that? Now imagine, children, this is 281. My sodium atom, I have 2 electrons in my first shell, 8 electrons in my second shell, and in the third shell I have 1 electron. Now this one, that is a valence electron, is far away from the nucleus. So what is screening? Screening means I am shielding, right? I am the valence electron, the nucleus is there. In between the nucleus and myself, there are many electrons surrounding the nucleus. So those electrons will not allow the nucleus effect to fall on me. So the second shell electrons are shielding the nucleus so that its charge is not falling on the valence electron. So the valence electron is now available so that I can remove it. I put some energy, I remove this electron, and now it has become 2,8. Sodium has become Na plus. Now from this Na plus, if I have to remove 1 electron from my second shell, do you think it's going to be easy? No, because it is already octet. It is forming a noble gas configuration, a stable configuration, and the electrons are closer to the nucleus. So what happens? There is an effective nuclear charge. These electrons are attracted by the nucleus, so definitely I have to put more energy to remove the second electron from the second shell of this ion. It's no more an isolated gaseous atom. Already it has lost one electron, it has become an ion. From that ion, if I have to remove one more electron, it is not easy. Definitely I have to struggle a lot. I have to put more energy to remove it, right? So what happens here? Once this becomes fully filled, that is octet, the ionization energy increases. So I would say the second ionization energy is more than the first ionization energy, or the third ionization energy is more than the second ionization energy. As the number of electron comes out of the shell, the nucleus is now having less electrons that it can attract towards itself. So what happens? The effective nuclear charge becomes more. The shell shrinks. The shielding is less. So what happens? I have to put more energy to remove my electron. So that's why we say the first ionization energy is lower, second is little higher, third becomes the highest. Now this depends on two important factors. The first one is attraction of electron towards the nucleus. If the number of shells increases, that's why we say ionization energy decreases down the group. When we go down the group, the number of shells increases. As the number of shells increases, the nucleus is far away from the valence electron. So easily it can remove the electron from the outermost shell. We need only less ionization energy. But what happens across the period? The number of shells remains the same, but the number of electrons becomes more. So the effective nuclear charge increases. So we need to put more energy to remove the electron. So that's why we say the ionization energy depends on attraction of electron towards the nucleus, repulsion of electrons from each other. If there is a good repulsion between the electrons among each other, you can remove it. But the repulsion is not that good, what happens? It is difficult again. So these are the things that you should remember. My first shell, second shell, this is my valence shell, which is my outermost electron. So these two are my core shells, which is closer to the nucleus. So these core shells will shield the nucleus, will shield these electrons. The nucleus attraction will not reach the outermost valence electrons. So it will be easy to remove. So this is called as ionization energy. So over a period, when we say it decreases across down the group and increases across the period. Okay, so now we will see what is electron gain enthalpy. Ionization energy is the energy required to remove the loosely bounded electron from an isolated gaseous atom. So during this process, when we go across the period, that is from lithium to fluorine in the second period, the number of electrons are added in the same shell. So the effective nuclear charge increases with decrease in atomic size. So there is an increase in the ionization energy to remove the electron. When we go down the group, what happens is the atomic size increases with the number of shells increases, decrease in the ionization energy because of increase in the shielding effect. So this is the ionization energy. Now we will see the third important parameter, that is electron gain enthalpy. From the name, it is well understood that an atom adds an electron towards itself. So when an atom adds an electron, it becomes a negatively charged ion. That energy which is released while adding an electron or which is absorbed while adding an electron is called as electron gain enthalpy. the energy which is associated with the gaining of electron which can be absorbed or released. Now this can be in two ways. It can have a positive electron gain enthalpy or a negative electron gain enthalpy. If it is energy is absorbed during the addition of an electron in an atom, it is called as endothermic, or if it is released while adding an electron to an atom, you call it as exothermic. The best examples are the halogens, being the 17th group elements, has got the negative electron gain enthalpy when it gets an electron added to its atom. And our 18th group, which are the noble gas, that is the inert gas elements, will have a positive electron gain enthalpy. That's because you know it does not need an electron, its outermost shell is completely filled. So it has got a positive electron gain enthalpy. And this electron gain enthalpy value will be negative when you go across the period. Because we know what happens when you go across the period with the atomic size, right? It shrinks, so the nuclear charge is more. So what happens? You need more electron to get added. The next topic is just similar to our electron gain enthalpy, which is defined as electronegativity. That is the ability of an atom to attract a shared pair of electron towards itself. That is, it attracts an electron pair towards itself is called as electronegativity. It is not a constant value and it definitely depends on the atom with which it is bounded. When it is bounded with a less electronegative or a more electronegative atom than itself, the value of the electronegativity changes. But definitely it increases across the period and decreases down the group. Because when you go down the group, number of shells increases, atomic size increases, effective nuclear charge decreases. So does not require an electron pair. But when you go across the period, the atomic radius actually decreases, so the effective nuclear charge increases, so you need a shared electron, so the electronegativity value will increase across the period. So these are the most important things as of this topics are concerned. See, you have a table which is given, that is using Pauling scale. You have different methods used. Pauling scale is used, Millikan-Jaff scale is used for measuring the electronegativity. If you see atom, electronegativity value is given, and how does it depend across the period and down the group is also given. In page 88 there is a diagram and a table. Please cross check this, try to explore it, understand, and then you apply. Right. So this is with the case of important parameters like atomic radius, ionic radius, ionization enthalpy, electron gain enthalpy and electronegativity. In the next class, we will learn about oxidation state, anomalous property and the general property. With that, we will do a small revision of the third chapter and can wind up the session. Okay. So I hope you don't have any doubt in this. Thank you children. Stay home, stay safe. If possible, I'll include the videos. Otherwise, you can just read the textbook once more. Thank you. Bye. Electron affinity or electron gain enthalpy. Electron affinity increases across the period because of the increase in effective nuclear charge and the decrease in the shielding effect. So the distance between the nucleus and the electrons is very less, so the electron affinity increases. But when we go down the group, there is more shielding effect, so the electron affinity or tendency to gain the electron to an isolated gaseous atom decreases down the group because of increase in atomic size. Electronegativity is the ability of an atom to attract the shared pair of electrons towards itself, resulting in the formation of a chemical bond. And here electronegativity increases across the period as there is a decrease in the atomic size and increase in the effective nuclear charge because of decrease in the shielding effect. Electronegativity decreases down the group as there is an increase in atomic size with increase in shielding effect and decrease in effective nuclear charge. So electronegativity decreases down the group.